All right. That's the sound of another Malarkey Hour coming at you. This is your host, Matt. And with me, as always, my co-host, John, who this week is a mute. He has a nasty cough, and he will not be speaking. So, remember when I told y'all I had good news a couple weeks ago? This is it. How's it going, sir? Good. All right, John. Let's get this week started.
Fine, I'll talk. I said I was going to let him talk by himself for 20 minutes.
John didn't even last 15 seconds.
Because I couldn't bear just hearing your voice for 20 minutes.
Just my voice, John. No, you wouldn't want to
I do have a cough. I've got Ricolas next to me.
Is it Ricolas or Ricolas?
I don't know. Do we have to edit that out? Are they a sponsor?
No, they're not a sponsor, but they can be, John.
This week's episode is brought to you by Ricola.
Or Ricolas.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that we would have to hammer out before we were to officially have them as a sponsor. How do you pronounce your name? Ricola or Ricola?
Are we going to have to edit that?
What?
Saying it?
Saying it? Nah.
Mm.
They're not going to sue us. We're not saying anything bad about them. Actually, they're effective.
They're sugar-free.
They're effective.
They're delicious.
It took you had to go all the way to Walgreens.
I'm still coughing, though.
I'm sorry. Should I have said Walgreens? Maybe I shouldn't say Walgreens. Because we are sponsored by CVS. So maybe they would get mad that we said Walgreens.
Yeah.
No, we're not sponsored by CVS.
Did I get these at Walmart? I don't know where I got them.
It was Walgreens. Remember Walmart?
Yeah.
I was with you. Walmart didn't have sugar-free.
They did, but it was a weird brand that I never tried. It was a weird flavor.
It was on the floor too.
it was on the floor. I was like, I guess I'm not gonna eat the bag.
I think that was like a non-selling point for you. Like it would touch the ground. You're like,
Can I get a manager? Excuse me, sir.
the worst customer complaint on a Saturday night at 10 p.m.
Yeah, I make people quit their jobs.
And I'm sure those Walmart employees are already on their way out. All right, John, let's get this week started. Enough about your fucking cough.
No, I want to talk about the cough.
You want to talk about the cough? About how it's just the cough and there's symptoms, right?
No. So
and John has a Hannibal Lecter mask to drown out his coughs right now. If y'all can see
Matt won't get me a cough button.
You have a cough button. So just let me know.
I gotta walk around and push it.
Just let me know if you need.
Or I can read.
Just like this. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Hello.
Just like that, John. I can just mute your ass.
Do it again. A B C D
I can
E F
mute
G.
you. I can mute your ass
P
anytime.
Q R S T.
The power that I have.
Yeah.
I have so much power.
I'll quit.
All right, John.
In the middle of this shit.
You've quit a couple times the last few weeks.
You're lucky my probation officer is requiring it.
Yeah, again, this is required thing for John.
Jeez.
Let's get this week started, John, because
You know what's messed up?
What?
We didn't do an episode a few days ago because you were sick. You're making me. Yeah, a few weeks ago, you're like, I'm sick.
A few weeks ago. Yeah.
And now.
Would you have done it without me?
Yeah, it would have been good though.
Yeah.
That would have been the only difference.
John, did you even have a topic or anything?
Nah, just would have riffed and then it'd have been like, Jesus Christ, he's great.
Okay. Well, next time I'm sick, you can go ahead and do the podcast without me.
I'm just gonna spend an hour talking shit about
Just do it. You know what? Next week I won't come over and you can do it. I'll see how you do it.
Okay.
I dare you to be able to do it.
I don't know. For an hour?
For an hour.
I bet you I could do it.
We'll do this. You know.
I don't know if I want to.
We'll do this in the near future. You'll hear an episode with just John, and then you'll have episode with just me.
We should do 15 minutes.
15 minutes
each.
We'll start off the podcast. You do your segment.
Yeah.
And then.
Or you can even do 10 minutes. And then I'll do 10.
I like how you keep cutting it down.
We're doing.
You know what? We'll do 4 minutes.
I'm gonna say my name.
And
then just you say yours.
That's maybe the change. Is you're gonna say your name first?
I like 10, 15 minutes to start with.
You want to?
I don't mind.
We can. We do that one of these days.
But I mean, I'd probably talk about something weird.
It's up to you.
Probably just complain about how some team didn't cover the spread. Tonight. Anyway.
All right, John. Let's get started. First segment of the night. It's going to be. I think it's one of your favorite segments.
You don't know what I like.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But we're going to do a segment that I like to call Conspiracy and Coffee.
Where's the coffee?
Where we, you don't have the coffee ready? You know, we never have the coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep on forgetting to bring the coffee.
I drank an energy drink earlier, and it made me feel a little anxious.
So with Conspiracy and Coffee, minus the coffee, we talk about a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
And I figure since this week, it's the anniversary, John, of, do you know what?
I think so.
It is the anniversary of one of the biggest conspiracies in U.S. history. It's the anniversary of the JFK assassination.
Ooh.
November 22nd.
1963.
Was the day that our great president, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was assassinated. And we've done a couple of episodes on this subject, but I figure, let's break it down. There's so much to cover. I think we've tried to bite too much of the apple. Let's take a little chunk off, and
whatever the hell that means.
I figure in tonight's segment we focus on one thing about the assassination, and we're gonna do this over
his hair,
over a course of.
I didn't like the way he combed his hair that day.
Many episodes. We're gonna attack a portion of this conspiracy, but tonight I want to talk about.
You
specifically.
Think the president does his own hair?
He does do his own hair, John. Especially Trump.
I'm not talking about Trump. We all know he's doing his own hair.
Yeah.
Saying do you think
No, they have hair people.
I know it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're laughing, John. Makes perfect sense.
But there has to be a president they want to do their own hair.
Just Trump, probably.
Just Trump?
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah.
Well, Obama had his hair short. He probably didn't need to do much.
You need somebody to cut his hair.
Well, cut it. I didn't say cut their own hair. I said, comb their own hair.
Somebody had to comb his hair.
Did it really need combing, though?
Yeah.
It's short.
It's short, but you still need to comb it. You've never had short hair.
No.
Yeah, you still need to comb it.
You'd be surprised. It's the gel in with my hands.
But you still need to comb. Even if I've had super short hair before, and you still comb it.
You cut your own hair.
I cut my own hair, yes.
For those of you who don't know that.
Yeah.
That looks ridiculous.
No. I've gotten better over the years. I've been doing it for going on 13 years now. 13, 14 years.
I remember when I was a kid, one time I took the, what do you call it? The
clippers?
Thing? Yeah, the clippers. And I went all the way up to 3 inches above my ear, just fucking around.
Uh-huh.
And I just completely fucked up my hair in elementary school. I didn't, I just thought it was cool. It's what do these do?
Uh-huh.
I was in second grade, third grade, I think.
Uh-huh.
And it was ridiculous because I had to even it out the other side. I think my mom had to do it.
Yeah.
And actually we went to a hair guy. He's oh, what the fuck? He's let me see what I can do. And it still looked ridiculous. Kids at school were cool hair. And other people were what the hell's wrong with your hair? I was just I don't know.
Yeah. I think that
I think I cried.
I think that the end of the assassination, they told the same thing to JFK. Cool hair.
Nice. Yeah.
He had good hair, JFK.
That's what I said. Do you think he did it himself?
Nah.
Yeah.
Somebody combed his hair.
Okay.
Unless he had really... You know what? He might be one of those guys who just has really good hair. And does it. His son had good hair, too.
Yeah.
I remember JFK Jr.
My hair does a wavy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even there's a term for it. They say it barbers and stuff know it.
See, John doesn't cut his own hair, but it looks like he cut his own hair.
That's what happens when you go to the place I won't mention, but it
costs $6.99.
You're not that far off, man. You're actually way closer than you think.
They probably have dinner, right? With that price, too? It's dinner's included?
Yeah, you get a
Salisbury steak dinner.
You ever get your hair cut at the strip club? Steak and fries and a haircut. Steak, fries, haircut, table dance. $7.95.
Yeah, no. No, I think Kennedy. It's just he just had naturally good hair. Oh, envious of JFK's hair.
Yeah, because some people just have straight hair that they can push in every direction.
Yeah, it's just natural.
I got a swirly thing that goes on, so I have to kind of keep it. I can
unswirl it every time?
I can keep it ridiculously just short, not ridiculous short or really, really long.
All right.
And it looks absurd, but it works. Or works for me. I think it's good enough. Or I could just keep it short and it kind of looks weird.
Right.
Because, it's like you get your haircut and eventually you have a few days where it looks good.
Yeah.
But at first you're like, oh, it's too short, or oh, it looks weird.
Yeah.
But then you have a few days
where
it's
just
just you're like, oh yeah, my hair looks okay.
Yeah.
It looks the way it should look. You wish you could just freeze it right there.
Yeah. They did this joke on you ever see Boy Meets World?
Of course.
Yeah. Remember that they made that joke about Corey's hair.
Did they?
Yeah.
He had the curly hair.
Yeah. So that's what he talked about. He goes, it's there's one day where my hair looks okay, and then it's time for a new haircut.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, your hair looks okay.
It is true.
And you walk with confidence when your hair looks good. You have a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Yeah, people are like, "Hey, you did something with your hair." You're like, "No, it just looks like this for one day."
Yeah, that's like when I have a tie or something. I'm not even wearing it. I just carry it in my pocket. But I walk around with confidence.
'Cause you have the tie on.
Because I know I have a tie in my pocket.
Your pocket.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. It's psychological.
So back to.
You ever get your shoes shined?
Yes, I have.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Where?
Strip club.
Shut up. It's part of this. It's included in that $7.95 bill.
Exactly. I get my haircut, John. I get my Salisbury steak. And I get my shoes shined all for $7.99.
Doing the razor with the in the old school barber shops.
Yeah. I get the shave too. Yeah.
Some chick named Tiffany or something, just just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I get my shoes shined there too.
She's like, I used to be a stylist.
It's usually this old guy in the restroom. He has a little kit set up there.
Yeah, I always feel compelled to tip.
Yeah. So yeah.
I usually take something. I get okay, I'll take a gum or something.
Okay. So you don't feel so bad.
I don't feel like I need to put. You don't have to put the soap in my hands.
Yeah.
I can do that.
So.
And usually it's watered down soap.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of watered down, let's just get way off topic here.
Now let's get
Where's
back.
the coffee?
Let's get back on track, John. JFK, dead. No.
Wait. What?
So we're gonna focus specifically on one thing, and the conspiracy, and I think this is a pretty big thing, and it's something.
I think.
Oh, what is your opinion is the biggest thing about the conspiracy?
I don't think.
And if it isn't this, then we'll do this.
I think regardless of what everybody thinks, he did do his own hair.
Yes, you think so?
That's what
I think it's just naturally good. I agree.
Yeah, I don't think he had a hair guy. A lot of people think
he did one of those things where you just you run your fingers through your hair.
A lot of people think there was a hair guy. Some people think there was a second hair guy.
You think there's
a second? But I think he did his own. I think he acted alone.
He acted alone. John thinks he acted alone. John's one of those nuts that thinks he acted alone.
Yeah, he did.
John, you're gonna get a lot of angry letters.
I'm just saying, he cut his own hair.
If you wanna,
he didn't cut his own hair. He combed his own hair.
If you wanna send your angry letters to John, I will post his address.
What do you think that pays to be like the barber that's like, oh, I cut the president's hair?
He probably gets paid $60,000 a year.
You think so?
I don't know. I'm just throwing out.
Because you figure it's the same guy every time or same girl every time.
It has to be.
Because
I think it's what whoever the president is comfortable with.
Yeah.
It has to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, because I know people I was going to say, you use the same person every time? You're like, yeah, me. Because I know people that if their hair guy goes to another place, they could be an hour away. They still go.
Because they like how they cut their hair.
Yeah. I just know who to avoid.
Okay. So
I go to the same place and I'm like,
Sandy, she's shitty. Don't ever go to Sandy.
No. There's one lady there and she's like, you ready? I'm like,
she's shaking.
And I look around. I'm like, no, but I'm trying not to be an asshole.
Yeah. How do you avoid that? You're like, no, let her go first.
There's a little place on the list where you can put the name of who you want.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's I know the other chick's name.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
so big thumbs up for Vanessa.
Yeah, Vanessa does a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vanessa cares about her job, John. That's why.
Yeah.
John, yeah, Vanessa doesn't drink on the job. Unlike Ethel, with the shaky hands, who gets fucked up haircuts.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, Michael J. Fox is giving me a haircut.
So it only took one haircut from Ethel before you're like, I'm not going to Ethel anymore.
Oh, dude. I think one time I was so desperate for a haircut, I was like, okay.
You let Ethel do
I'm
it?
going to try this one more time.
You give Ethel another chance?
I gave her another chance.
And she didn't do it.
I had to keep correcting her. She doesn't speak English, and I don't speak Spanish.
Wow.
So, dude, okay, I don't even want
So
to
maybe it's just, there's just a loss in translation thing. Like where if you
Even
spoke Spanish.
No.
Why, you've had it translated for you? And
The lady who cuts my hair also speaks Spanish. She goes, no, don't use her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Nah.
It's
Ethel.
fine.
Nobody knows Ethel.
Yeah.
We've changed her name to protect her privacy.
Vanessa's real. Ethel is not real.
Yeah.
But she's real, but that's not her name. I don't really know her name, actually. I just know her face.
Ethel.
In fact, I'm going to give you her first and last name and her email right now. You can...
All right, John, we've gone way off topic, John.
Let's
get back on track.
Did he... No, I'm just kidding.
JFK. Magic bullet theory. I'm just gonna say it.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
We're gonna focus on. We already wasted 45 minutes. We're gonna speed through this. The last 15 minutes. No. Magic bullet theory, John. Have you heard of it?
Yes, of course.
Magic bullet theory.
I do. I always, as much as I've. Okay, and I'll make this quick. I've studied this so much since I was young, but it's been a long time, and I kind of got away from it for a really long time, to where it's like stuff comes back to me, but I'm like, yeah, go ahead, go where you're going. So like, I'm just saying, I'll be like, oh yeah, that did happen. Oh yeah, it did happen that way, or I'll think of something here or there. I don't know the timeline. I've seen a lot, but it's too much information to absorb, and then you just get away from it because it'll drive you crazy.
So the magic bullet theory, or the single bullet theory, you could say, was generally credited to the Warren Commission staffer Arlen Specter. So obviously the Warren Commission is the commission put together to investigate all the facts surrounding the assassination of
Remember,
JFK.
guys, we have facts. Just check our Facebook page for the number.
JFK. So this theory posits that a single bullet known as, quote, Warren Commission Exhibit 399, or CE 399, that this single bullet caused all the wounds to the governor and the non-fatal wounds to the president, which totals up, John, to 7 entry/exit wounds in both men. So this bullet went through both two men and entered and exited 7 times.
Sure.
So the theory says...
I mean, that's accurate. The wounds are... Yeah.
The wounds are accurate, yeah.
The wounds, I'm not questioning that.
What this is saying is one bullet did that. So the theory says that a 1.2 inch or 3 centimeters, for all our European listeners out there, long copper jacketed lead core 6.5 by 52 millimeter Mannlicher Carcano rifle bullet fired.
I can never say it.
Yeah,
I just call it a crappy Italian gun.
Yeah, rifle.
Something you bought from a mail catalog. Sky. I think it was Sky Mall.
Yeah, Sky Mall. All right. Rifle bullet fired from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository passed through President Kennedy's neck, and then went into Governor Connolly's chest, went through his wrist, and embedded itself in the governor's thigh.
Yeah.
So if so, this bullet traversed, John, 15 layers of clothing, 7 layers of skin, and approximately 15-ish inches of muscle tissue. It struck a necktie knot. Do you think it was a double Windsor?
Well,
not.
I think a double Windsor is a little unprofessional for what they were doing.
Think so?
Yeah, I would have just... Well...
You think it was a half Windsor?
I would have gone with a half, but at the same back then,
Did it
a
have?
double Windsor might have looked like a half because they used thin ties.
You're right.
So it's like you probably could have got away with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Today, though, I think it's like you shouldn't be tying a double Windsor, man. Just go with you're wasting time. Like you're the president, you got shit to do.
Yeah. You don't have time to.
Or even if you're a governor, it's like you should look like you're busy. You should
Yeah.
not try to that's more for the club.
It's like, yeah. So I struck a necktie knot. It removed 4 inches of rib
From
and shattered a radius bone.
Sorry guys for the sound. I got Ricola in my mouth.
John is chewing like a cow, as my mom would say.
A cough drop in my mouth.
The bullet was found on a gurney in the corridor at Parkland Memorial Hospital after the assassination. The Warren Commission found that this gurney was the one that had borne Governor Connolly. This bullet became a key exhibit for the
That's
commission.
the one they pulled out of his leg.
Yes. Its copper jacket was completely intact. While the bullet's nose appeared normal, the tail was compressed laterally on one side.
Cool.
Laterally.
What is that? Dumb that down laterally.
Laterally. It's
Laterally on one side.
Like, think about
I know it ended
think about a cigar and say you were to squeeze the cigar down if you're biting on it, one side, and it pinched, like you pinched it.
like this.
Like this is the cigar, and then you pinched it and it went like this.
Okay, so it went in like that.
Yeah. So the bullet on one end was like this. It was like almost like somebody bit down.
Okay,
On
they
it.
pulled it out like boom, like that.
Yeah, yeah, and one side was like pinched down.
I mean, I'm being serious. Pull it like that.
No, but I'm saying you're asking what lateral means. It
I
was
know
pinched.
what lateral means,
It
but
was
I'm saying
pinched down.
in this case, you're talking about. Okay.
I'm not saying how they pulled it out. I'm saying how it looked. The bullet. It was pinched down.
Oh, I've seen you're saying at the picture of the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I wasn't sure what you were asking.
No, I thought you were saying where like the position it was in his leg, like when they pulled it out.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were talking about what the bullet looked like.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know how they pulled that out. Some people say they didn't pull it out at all.
So he walked around with the bullet for years.
No. I mean, some people say they didn't pull it out. Like, yeah, it was never in this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Just so he was. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, okay. Wait, you talking about a conspiracy now?
So, John, okay, this is one of the things that's a little hard to. I mean, okay, so say it is able to go through all these layers of bone, skin, clothing. Say it was able to do that, which you never know. Some bullets may or may not.
Some bullets are magic.
Yeah,
Do you believe in magic?
I believe in magic. So one of the things that's a little hard to believe, and another thing that added to the mysticism of this bullet, John, is the path of travel.
Matt got a word of the day calendar.
I know I did. I'm it was coincidentally yesterday's word, mysticism. So the unlikely path of travel for this bullet, John. Let's break that down. So essentially, the path of travel. This is something considered highly unlikely by critics of the single bullet theory. It means CE 399, as we established before. This is the piece of evidence, the number they gave it. CE 399 went through the bodies of 2 adult men, John, tore through about 15 inches of human flesh,
I thought Connolly was a child.
broke 2 bones, and punctured 15 different layers of clothing. So the bullet was recovered, as we see on the gurney, right? So have you seen pictures of how they sat, right?
Yes.
So Connolly sat in what is considered almost like a jumper seat. They retrofitted this limousine so that Connolly wasn't a little high, or he was lower than Kennedy, so that he wouldn't obstruct the view of people, because this was a parade. So they actually
there was some strategic stuff there as far as they'll be able to see you better.
Yeah. So Connolly was actually at a weird angle from Kennedy. So if you see the video, you don't quite see it, but he's actually not quite in front of Kennedy. He's actually at a weird angle. So that's another thing. The trajectory of this bullet doesn't make sense.
Well, he was sitting right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Connolly was sitting right in front of Kennedy.
he technically wasn't. You
Okay,
have a little
okay.
magazine there. It doesn't show you the position.
Yeah, I had to pull this thing up.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked at it till right now. I was trying to.
I think I see where they have a picture of how they were positioned, sitting.
Yeah, I mean, okay, he was sitting behind him, but yeah, I get you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But the thing here is, because they make like a weird turn and angle there.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not that much different. Yeah, but I see what you're saying.
It's a weird
not,
angle.
It's not completely parallel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So the bullet had, and you know what? People argue that.
But
well,
I mean, you're just there's 6 seats.
Yeah.
So it's like everybody, like I know where everybody's sitting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah. I guess, yeah. You're not directly behind. You're kind of like to the, to the left or right of him.
To the right of Kennedy.
Connolly was to the right of Kennedy.
A little bit to the right. Yeah.
Sitting in front of Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So most witnesses.
Was Kennedy taller?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Either.
Kennedy was a tall guy. He was like 6'2".
I don't know.
Most all presidents are 6
I know
feet.
Johnson was tall.
Well, I know Johnson was tall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he seems to be slouching. Almost like he's afraid something's gonna happen.
Most witnesses and analysts believe that a total of 3 shots were fired, John.
Well, that is the official report, isn't it?
Yeah. So the Zapruder film, John. Let's go to the Zapruder film. That's the only really obviously the only video shot that day. There's some pictures, but that's really the photographic evidence that we all know.
Right.
The single shot were captured on frames 210 through 225.
Okay.
Of the film taken by Abraham Zapruder.
Wasn't he like? He's just a guy.
He was a clothing manufacturer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't he like a hairdresser?
No,
because now I'm thinking about hairdressers. Yeah,
he cut Kennedy's hair, John. That's one theory. He was a clothing manufacturer.
I think Zapruder did it.
I still think he did it.
I think we said this last time.
Yeah, I think he did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no, he didn't do it. No, Mr. Abraham Zapruder did not do it. 26 foot.
Man, don't you think he? I mean, I know this is so off topic.
Mm-hmm.
You should probably get some royalties for that film.
He does. I think he rejected all. If I remember correctly, one of the stories, he rejected all royalties, didn't he?
I have no idea.
I can't remember.
Because they use it a lot.
He used it a lot.
And I guess it officially, like, is it not his property?
That I can't tell you.
Is it officially like government property when they take it from you? He's still.
No, he made copies. He made copies right away after the shooting.
He didn't give
it just wasn't made public until.
He didn't give it to them on the spot, right?
No, he made copies. Yeah, he made copies of that film right away.
Okay, but how do you make copies once you give it to him?
No. He didn't give them to him right away. He made copies.
I said he gained copies before he gave it up.
Yeah, he made copies before he gave it up.
Like, he wasn't just like, I just filmed this here.
No.
Okay, I don't know.
He made right after the shooting. He made copies. It's just we didn't see any of the public didn't see it until the 70s.
Copies. Just selling them with a bell after them.
So John, as I mentioned, frames 210 through 225. That's really the money shot there. But there's even a more shocking event that occurs at frame 313. In it, the silent film shows the back of Kennedy's head burst open as the second shot hits him near the base of his skull. This section of footage was not released to the public for years after the assassination due to its gruesome nature. You've seen it, right?
Seriously?
No, obviously it's a rhetorical question. But no, it is pretty disturbing. Like, you do see his head just explode.
Yeah. They blew up the president's head.
Yeah.
You notice I said they, right?
Yeah. So even Zapruder himself, John, was deeply troubled by his now infamous film, especially the violent nature of frame 313. He reportedly had a nightmare in which he saw an advertisement announcing, "See the president's head explode!" exclamation point.
Wait, say that again. What?
He said he had a nightmare and he saw an advertisement announcing, "See the president's head explode."
Okay.
So when Zapruder sold the rights to the film, so he did make a lot of money, to the film to Life magazine, he stipulated that frame 313 being withheld from publication. And in fact, it was not seen by the general public until a much criticized airing by ABC News in 1975.
Geraldo? It was, right?
Was it?
It was the Geraldo Rivera show.
This is ABC News.
Yeah, but it was ABC News at the Geraldo Rivera show.
Oh, was it?
He was the one that released, like, to the people. That had never
He releases a lot of stuff, right? With his mustache.
Yeah, he's getting a little out there lately, but
Mustache.
yeah, 1975, right? It was called it was Good Night America, but I think it was
his mustache was
I don't know.
luxurious in 1975.
At least that I don't know if he was permanent, but that was hosted by.
He shined the shit out of that mustache.
Well, Good Night
Just
America.
glistened.
Good Night America was hosted by Geraldo.
It just glistened, glistened brighter than the
Because
logo.
I already knew that, but I'd never seen it until that DVD that we got when we were at Dealey Plaza, and they show the Geraldo Rivera like the thing.
I think Geraldo Rivera's mustache did it.
You think his mustache did
I
it?
think his mustache. Where was his mustache on that day, John? It has no alibi.
That is funny. It's true.
It has no alibi.
That is true. Yeah. I don't.
So John, support for the single bullet theory. I know you're not one of the supporters, but numerous reenactments, computers analysis, and research into the Zapruder film and other evidence have lent considerable credibility to the single bullet theory. John McAdams, a professor of political science at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is a well-known expert on the Kennedy assassination who also makes a practice of debunking Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories. McAdams on his
he obviously did it.
McAdams on his voluminous website dedicated to the killing offers substantial evidence for the single bullet theory. He's a single bullet theorist, John. Thomas Caney was a NASA scientist who studied the single bullet trajectory for the House Select Committee on Assassinations. McAdams wrote, referring to the Congressional Committee that was convened in 1976 to re-examine the work of the Warren Commission.
Okay, I want to make something clear that I think I know.
Okay.
The Assassination Committee, whatever you called it, is not the same as the Warren Commission.
No. They were reviewing the Warren Commission's findings.
Yeah, they were trying to. Yeah, they were a second group.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And they, I don't know what year it was, but they officially did conclude that they believed that there was more than one shooter. Even though the Warren Commission stands that there was one.
Yeah.
The Assassination Committee believes they're acknowledged in the last, whatever, I don't know, couple decades. I have no idea what the year was. I want to say 90s. That, yeah, they're even saying, like, no, he did not act alone, in our opinion.
Right.
And they're probably the second, because everybody thinks Warren Commission. I go, well, they're the second group to look at it that's the most official.
Yeah.
Other than Warren Commission.
And other than yourself.
And me.
Yeah.
Who go down YouTube rabbit holes.
Nightly, right?
Nah, I try not to.
Once a month at least? How often do you think you go down JFK rabbit holes on a yearly basis? One, twice, 3 times a year?
Less. Maybe more like years ago. It's one of those ones that probably haven't. Not often.
Not in a while.
Yeah, I think I probably would.
You've lost your.
I never
pizzazz
lost interest, but it's like, dude, you're just gonna drive yourself crazy.
You lost the passion, yeah.
I haven't lost the passion. It's just that what more is there that's going to, like, I ain't gonna watch it and be like, all right, 6 hours, I'm gonna solve this shit. And I'm one of those psychos with Post-its all over the fucking wall.
I don't know, John. A couple months ago, I went back to Dallas, and I thought I had it figured out.
You found another shell.
I found another shell. Being a pecan shell, but
yeah. They pulled the pecan out of his Connolly's leg.
So John, the result was an alignment that showed the bullet leaving Kennedy's throat to strike Connolly in the back near the shoulder, which is where Connolly was actually struck, McAdams wrote. He added failure analysis associates and work done for a 1992 mock trial of Lee Harvey Oswald for the American Bar Association used 3D computer animation and modeling techniques to research the bullet trajectory and concluded that the single bullet trajectory works.
Sure.
In 2004, on the Discovery Channel, they attempted to duplicate the conditions of the assassination using up-to-date forensics research and materials. The reenactment shown on Unsolved History JFK Beyond the Magic Bullet found that a single bullet duplicated almost exactly the path of travel postulated by proponents of the single bullet theory.
Yeah, I mean, if it was on the Discovery Channel, I mean,
That's got to be true.
Yeah, they don't have.
They have dinosaurs on there.
Yeah, they don't have anything like ghost shows or anything like that.
They got American choppers on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very credible stuff.
But John, there's obviously criticism of the single bullet theory. You being one of them. So one of it. Okay, so this is it, right? The trajectory of the bullet.
Don't call me out like that. You don't know that shit.
You're not a critic of the single bullet theory.
Yes.
Okay. So the trajectory of the bullet, John, that supposedly penetrated Kennedy's neck and Connolly's torso is one of the many points of contention of the single bullet theory. Critics charge that because of the position of the two men in the limousine, the bullet would have had to change course in midair to travel as proposed. The fact that Connolly was seen holding his hat in his right hand also caused suspicion, since he was supposedly wounded in his right wrist by the single bullet. The unusual circumstances surrounding the discovery of the CE-399 bullet, it was reportedly picked up off the floor by a nurse.
Stop calling it that. I know that's funny because I never knew. I don't even know. Just whatever.
It was reportedly picked up off the floor by a nurse, John, or discovered by a hospital engineer, according to various reports. So that's another thing. The bullet, this bullet that is the bullet that killed Kennedy, was mysteriously found, right? And the bullet's so-called pristine condition have likewise raised the hackles, John, of conspiracy theorists.
Word of the day calendar.
Hackles. The single bullet theory gives credibility to the conclusion of the Warren Commission and other research that Oswald acted as a lone gunman who shot Kennedy because of Oswald's pro-communist leanings and or because of his depressed mental state. Whether Oswald was a lone gunman or was a pawn of communist Cuba or the Soviet Union or the Mafia or some other group may never be known, especially since Oswald was murdered by Dallas club owner Jack Ruby shortly after his arrest. So that's another thing, right? There's so much writing on this lone bullet theory to be true. It means that Oswald acted alone. There was nobody else. This wasn't a conspiracy. This bullet had to do a lot. This bullet had to do a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff writing. This bullet has heavy shit coming on his shoulders, John. And many say that the bullet isn't built to carry this load on his shoulders. It can carry the team, John. To use a little sports analogy.
You're saying that the bullet was just shitty. No, I'm being serious.
Was what?
Like a shitty bullet?
No, I mean, it's just the bullets. There's a lot right on this bullet. Okay. A lot of things. I mean, because if the lone bullet theory isn't true, then everything else falls apart. That means Oswald wasn't the lone shooter. That means there was more people there, and that means there's a conspiracy to kill the President of the United States. And that is the reason that many people think that this single bullet theory was pushed by many officials.
Coughing here. You've seen the picture, right, of the bullet?
Yeah, it looks really clean.
Yeah.
Too clean.
I've seen people reenact it with they try to simulate the human tissue and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even going through once, and it's pretty, like, they're pretty good at it. Like, they use some kind of weird, I don't know, clay and like shit that basically simulates the human flesh and the thickness of what it would have gone through even just on that first entry.
Right.
And the bullet with the same gun, same bullet, and the bullet looks so shitty.
Yeah.
But the bullet they showed us looks very, very clean.
Well, especially the head of it. It looks clean. It should have been all bent.
But I'm not
fucked up.
I'm not a gun guy.
Me neither. But I think I know enough to know, like, hey, that looks a little too clean.
No.
But let's go a little bit back to the trajectory, right? So we're talking here. You can see me, but if you can look up there's a lot of sketchings out there of how they sat. But Kennedy was sitting right here, right? Like, say I'm Kennedy, and then here is Connolly.
This makes for a great podcast, Matt.
I know.
Matt acting out.
I know
the position.
But we'll go through this, and I'll put up a picture of what I'm talking about.
You can draw it.
No, yeah, I'll take what's out there, John. I don't want to do that much work. So Kenny's sitting here, and here's
You guys
Connolly
are
in
going
front
to
of
see
him.
Matt's drawing soon.
Here's Connolly sitting right in front of him, right? The bullet comes this way, right? Obviously, because it's the book depository was to the right of the limousine.
Right.
For anybody who's been there, and so the bullet has to come from the right side, right here, right at this angle, and it has to hit Kennedy low here in the back,
and
come out
the back, and then
come out here, right? So
through his neck.
Yeah. So if the bullet's going straight, it's coming out this way, right? Well, Connolly's right here.
Again, this is great for a podcast.
Right, Kennedy's. You'll see it. You'll see it on. So Connolly's sitting right here, right?
Yeah.
So the bullet's coming out this way to the left.
Yeah.
So in order for it to hit Connolly, it has to do a little bit of a this way, right? But remember, it hit Connolly's right shoulder. So not only does it have to curve this way, it has to literally go parallel to Connolly and then turn to the left to hit his right shoulder.
That's why it's magic.
That's why it's a magic bullet.
I mean, yeah, it was magic. That's what happened.
So now, okay. So now I did this crazy fucking U-turn, flight midair, and then another turn, right? And say that happened. So now it hits his right shoulder, right? And now it comes out the other side.
I'm telling you, it went down like last time. I went to get some cigarettes.
Right.
Yeah, but only it came back.
It came back.
Yeah.
Unlike many people's fathers.
Unlike my father.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So it hit his right shoulder, right here, boom, and it's coming out. It's coming out. But now, after it comes out his shoulder, it hits his wrist, John. All right, it hits his wrist. His wrist is down here.
So that's normal.
His wrist is down here, touching his thigh. Maybe he was like scratching his balls, but he was like down here, right, his wrist. All right. So now the bullet has to go.
All I've concluded is that Connolly was a pervert.
So now the bullet has to go like this down.
Yeah.
And hit his wrist.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So now it hits his wrist. Ow, that hurts. You know?
Got a direct quote from Connolly.
Yeah. All right. So now it exits his wrist. It doesn't stay in his wrist, John.
He said, "Ouchie."
He says, "Ouchie." All right.
Yeah.
So now it exits his wrist, and now it has to go to his left leg, his left thigh.
That's when he said.
So
that's when he goes, "Ouchie, ouchie."
So now it's not only coming out of his right wrist, it's going to his left thigh. So now it has to go this way.
Mm-hmm.
This bullet has fucking turned many times.
Right.
And now it hits his left thigh, and that's where it rests. And that's where it's found, supposedly.
Yeah.
Its final resting spot. So it has to go like this, John. So let's recap. It goes straight, turns again, slopes down like a fucking downhill fucking skier, comes out his wrist, and does a little bit of to where its final resting spot.
Went backwards, like did it a little moon.
It did a little fucking moonwalk. Yeah. You know what? It invented the moonwalk. It wasn't Michael Jackson. It was this bullet. Right. It did a little bit of a moonwalk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a little cocky bullet, right? It's like,
yeah. Look what I can do. Look what I can do.
And then finally,
those were the bullet's last words.
Look what I can do.
And then Connolly was like, "Ouchie."
Ouchie. I think Connolly, what was one of his words that he said? I was like, "They're gonna kill us all," or what was his words?
I don't know that. I know that he did say, basically imply that, yeah, it did not happen the way it happened. Like years later, though, like probably I think decades later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when Connolly died, but I don't know if it's decades, but years later, he said that it did not. He basically said it. He did not believe it. It didn't happen the way it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta find that quote, but there is a direct quote, maybe even a video. I don't know, but he basically said the Warren Commission got it wrong.
The Warren Commission got it wrong.
Not in those words, but very, very clear that he's saying, yeah,
So
no magic bullet.
So this is one of the things that people who say it was just one bullet. This is their argument. So remember I was talking about the.
Wouldn't you believe a guy that was there?
What?
Saying it?
Yeah. No. So this is one of the things. If you do want to believe in the single bullet, this is one of the few things you can argue. Remember I was talking about the precision of the jumper seat. Now, if you believe, hey, you forget this wasn't a normal limousine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Connolly wasn't right in front of Kennedy. He was this way, right? So his body wasn't in the position as we always think about. His shoulder, his right shoulder, was actually more slightly to Kennedy's left. So now, as I was showing you before, John, in my illustration, I was sitting right here, and here was Connolly. But now let's say Connolly.
Wait, you were there?
I was right here, all right? But
What
now
happened?
instead of Connolly sitting directly in front of me, he shifted this way. And now his right shoulder is to my left shoulder. All right?
Yes.
Okay, so follow me here. So now his right shoulder's to my left. So now the bullet comes, hits the back, comes out my neck. But now the trajectory is going straight. Now it's able to hit Connolly's right shoulder.
Okay.
And say Connolly was checking his time, right? As he was akin to do. His right wrist. His right wrist was over here. Again, outside his right shoulder, still going straight. Hits his wrist. And since it's going downward, it keeps going down. From his shoulder to his wrist to his thigh. So that's how people who support the single bullet theory says it happened. The seat was actually a little bit to the left. And this is how it was able to go straight and go to all these weird positions, as opposed to the way we've seen it before, and if Connolly was directly in front of Kennedy. I remember I was telling you, Connolly's seat was a little lower because they didn't want his big old head blocking the Kennedy's Kennedy's face, so they moved the seat slightly lower. So now the bullet's coming from a higher ground and going slowly lower and lower and lower until it rests to his lowest spot, Connolly's left thigh. And that's how people who want you to believe the single bullet theory said it happened. Said it was a straight trajectory. It wasn't a magic bullet. It went straight through.
Do you want to hear Connolly's quote?
Go ahead.
That's what I found here about CE number 399.
You learned something new today, John.
Oh my God!
See, if anything, the Malarkey Hour
CBS
educates.
CBS interview too.
Okay, what did he say?
Okay, he said, "This is my best Governor Connolly impression."
Go ahead, John. Let me close my eyes and
It's
see.
gonna sound exactly like.
I'm close my
Connolly.
eyes.
But me and Connolly, we sounded exactly the same.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
he said to me, "It is just inconceivable that the first shot that went through his throat, his neck entered my back. I don't believe that. I never will believe that.
Mm-hmm.
They can't run enough tests to make me believe that."
That's Connolly himself. The guy, he was right there.
Yeah, he had a good view.
Yeah, he had a pretty goddamn good
Oh, I
view.
mean, he was in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it was close.
Yeah.
Close to the action.
So.
But it is interesting from a guy that was in the car to say that, especially a high-ranking somebody like him.
Yeah. And we could spend hours and hours on this and never end, but we need to end because we don't have hours and hours. Let's speak a little bit to the lasting.
We already like an hour in.
Or lasting, yeah. Your fucking haircut discussion cut in like 25 minutes, John. Let's talk about the lasting legacy of this magic bullet.
Okay, well let's first. I don't want you getting out of here without your fucking opinion.
What?
What do you think?
What do you think happened?
You're buying the Warren Commission?
No, I think there's more than one shooter.
Okay.
It's just it's too impossible. And I don't even think that it was this whole one magic bullet thing that's really like, for me, it's obviously there's too much other evidence with too many other bullets that have to come to too many other angles. I do think, this is what I'll tell you. I think this one bullet, I do think it did the damage it did. I just think there was more bullets because there was more damage.
Yeah.
So I believe the trajectory of this bullet, and I believe why people want to believe this, because it did happen that way.
Okay.
But I think
we
there's
keep
other
calling
bullets.
magic bullet, but everybody knows they're reporting 3 shots.
Yeah.
First shot, it ricochet off a tree, hits Teague,
Mm-hmm.
which is just like a bystander near the overpass.
Yeah.
I think it's like from a bullet to like the curb, and it like ricocheted and hit him in the forehead or some shit.
Yeah.
And then the second shot was the magic bullet shot.
Yeah, it's the magic bullet shot.
And the third shot is the headshot.
The headshot, which didn't come from the book depository.
Well, no, probably not. Because it was to... Okay, I had to get the order right here. It was the back of the head. They're telling us the back of his head, top right back of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But it probably came from the front.
But then when you look at those aren't real autopsy pictures, right? Or are those see, that's another thing I get confused about. But either way, you can find a lot of doctors that were in that, because that was a big fucking deal. We're trying to save the president's life, right? So they're calling in everybody, a million, the best doctors we have, right?
Does anybody know how to put back together a brain?
Like, let me ask you this. I know this is dumb for a podcast. It's real, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's real.
Mm-hmm.
We see there's a big giant hole in the back left of his head.
Yeah.
So you ask anybody, probably an exit wound.
Mm-hmm.
You combine that with back into the left,
Mm-hmm.
probably a reaction to a shot from the front.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I'm not a ballistics guy, but makes sense. All the doctors are describing the giant exit wound on the top left in the back of his head, like right here.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get off topic, but if you guys want to look sometime, you can look up some of these doctors. I'll name some of their names if I can see.
We'll get into another episode. We'll
get
into all the doctors. And
I don't want to, like I said, I'm not going to get too off topic. Just look. I'm looking at a picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 doctors that were there, or that saw Kennedy's body.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all pointing at the same area, top left back of the head where the big hole was, which is normally an exit.
Except for that one doctor had an itch in his nose, and he's just picking his nose.
It's just everybody had head lice that day, and they all just gravitated toward that part of their head. But I don't want to get off topic, but a lot of them mysteriously died.
And we'll get into that in another episode. We'll talk about all the mysterious deaths and
just for the record, they're not like fucking like heart attacks sometimes, or like
no, we'll get into that.
No, but it's fun. It's not. It's funny now because it's so ridiculous. Even though their families might not appreciate it.
No.
But yeah, I don't want to get too, but they're ridiculous. Like it's like becomes like a Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
it's like Goodfellas at the end.
Like the Layla scene, yeah, Goodfellas. Yeah.
And they're like karate chop explosions.
Yeah.
Like, wait, how many people fell out of a window?
Yeah. So no, that's another. That's for another
I don't
episode.
want to focus on the bullets.
We'll focus on the mysterious aftermath.
We need to dedicate one episode to his hair.
Yes, because I don't think we got enough time today. No, but go back to the single bullet. I want to talk about his lasting legacy. Obviously, this became a point of contention and became so famous. It went into pop culture, John. Pop culture.
We already said it. We already said it. Moonwalked.
Yeah, I did. You're a big Seinfeld fan, right?
Sure.
Remember the episode "The Boyfriend," where Kramer and Newman talk about being spit at by who was it?
I forget the guy's name.
Keith Hernandez.
Oh, the baseball player.
The Mets. Yeah.
That's that's a very funny scene.
Yeah, and they go into their own version of the magic loogie, to talk about how there is a second spitter.
Yeah, yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, and then
they just reenact it, and they're like, they show Kramer's head is like goes back into the left.
Back into the left,
like
yeah.
Back into the left.
Back into the left, and then actually before then there was another pop culture, and I actually made you watch this movie specifically for this. There's for people, it is not one of his most famous films, but in 1981,
he literally made me watch this movie.
Brian De Palma.
He held a shitty Italian gun to my head and said, "If you don't watch this movie."
Hey, but it missed, right?
Yeah, if it
Thank
didn't-
God it was.
Yeah, thank God it was a shitty Italian gun.
It's actually one of his lesser-known movies. Brian De Palma, director
Mhm.
of Carrie and Scarface and The Untouchables.
Mission to Mars.
the first Mission Impossible. Very famous director. One of his lesser-known films.
Mhm.
Early 80s, 1981, starring John Travolta, a movie called Blowout. Great film. One of my
Yeah.
favorite Brian De Palma films. And it deals with conspiracies, and it deals with assassination attempts. And
Mhm.
it dealt with its own magic bullet. And gunshot shooting out a tire, and deals with, so many other aspects. It's a great movie. I don't want to go too much into it 'cause we'll
I'll
take
tell you-
another hour.
Well, I'll
But-
tell you because you've probably seen it how many times?
I've probably seen it like 15, 20 times.
That's because you're a freak.
Okay.
I've seen it once.
Yeah. Recently.
Yeah, for the first time.
Yeah.
Because you made me. You held that Italian gun in my head.
Yeah.
And it is very good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's good. It is definitely an 80s movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it ages well.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. I understand why like film nerds like it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also I understand like why conspiracy people would like it.
Yeah, it deals with you can even say Chappaquiddick a little bit. It deals with
They address it.
dress it, yeah.
They address it as far as like, I mean, what's
What if Kennedy died that night, essentially?
Well, did they address that in the movie?
No, I'm just saying, like, just in general, like they deal with that. They deal with a lot of stuff. But it goes back to that bullet had such a lasting, legacy. One bullet,
Right.
right?
It goes back to just trying to keep people quiet, trying to cover stuff up,
Mhm.
the importance of power.
Yeah. So that bullet,
It's a good movie though.
the mysticism of that bullet.
Blowout. I'm gonna
continues to
give
live
it
on. 3 jalapenos.
3.5 blowouts
3.5 blowouts out of 4.
out of 12.
Okay.
But don't worry, that doesn't mean it's bad. Blowouts are worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the Joker, which I saw recently.
Mm-hmm.
2 blowouts.
So that's it for the magic bullet, John. I want to end this week's episode real quickly.
Mhm.
A little game. I figure since we're on the topic of JFK. Not a little game. I just it's just facts. Some JFK facts. Maybe,
Who combs their own hair?
did you know, John, that John F. Kennedy combed his own hair?
Really?
Actually, you know what? He received his last rites a total of 4 times. Did you know that?
No.
So, I don't know if you probably know this. JFK wasn't the healthiest man in the world. He battled a lot of health problems from a young age.
Like scoliosis or something?
Yeah, some were life-threatening. The first in 1947, he became sick while traveling in England and was diagnosed with Addison's disease.
Right.
Second time in 1951, he was suffering from an extremely high fever while in Japan. So that was second right. They thought he was going to die. The third time in 1954 when he slipped into a coma following back surgery. And then his final obviously was when he was assassinated.
Yeah, I mean, he got laid a lot. Even though, yeah. He was kind of a pimp.
Yeah. So, John, a memento from a near-death experience was
Do we have to say pimp? Can we say player?
a player.
Anyway, go ahead. We could do a whole hour on just JFK's like promiscuous.
He was the only president to have received the Purple Heart.
That's okay. Go ahead.
The next closest ones were actually just presidential candidates. John Kerry and John McCain both received Purple Hearts for their services during wartime, but Kennedy was the only president to be able to say they had that honor.
Yeah.
He was wounded in action on August 22nd, 1943.
You know who else has a Purple Heart?
Who?
Donald Trump. You know what's funny? It's not a joke.
Does he?
It was during one of his speeches or something, and some veteran gave him his Purple Heart,
Really?
and he kept it. And
Uh-huh.
he said, "I always wanted to get a Purple Heart," and he kept it. That's all. I'm not gonna say much more than that, but Interpret that how you want, guys.
John, do you know that Kennedy was a Pulitzer Prize winner?
No, I didn't even know he wrote.
Yeah, 1957. 1957.
Well, every president writes a book.
Kennedy was awarded a Pulitzer Prize for his book Profiles in Courage.
Oh. They're Going to Kill Me by John F. Kennedy.
John, did you know that he got into a fender bender with Larry King?
Oh, really?
So in 1958, Larry King got into a car accident with JFK. And at the time, 1958, Larry King was, 108 years old at that point? So you can't blame him.
I think it was the late 90s.
Yeah. He was a senator. This is when JFK was a senator. And in Palm Beach. So in his autobiography, King wrote about how he had just arrived to the area from Brooklyn and was so distracted by the swanky South Florida locale that he wasn't really paying attention to the road. And Kennedy was pretty angry about the whole incident. How could you? Kennedy yelled. Early Sunday morning, no traffic, not a cloud in the sky. I'm parked. How could you run into me? King said, all I could say was, Senator, do you want to exchange information from our driver's license? King replied, writing that eventually he calmed down and he said he'd forget the whole thing if we just promised to vote for him when he ran for president. We did, and he drove away, though not before saying, stay way behind me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got a random Larry King thing.
What?
Real quick. He was interviewing somebody when Bobby Kennedy was... I don't know if Bobby Kennedy was officially running it, but he was doing the California thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or no. Where was Bobby Kennedy senator of? I'm an idiot. Before he was president? What state? Was it New York?
I can't remember.
Okay, well, either way, when Bobby Kennedy was senator, like Larry King was talking to a news reporter and was dropping her off at the airport, and he said, I'll never forget. He goes, they're going to kill Bobby Kennedy.
Mm.
And so Larry King said that always stuck in his head, and it was like soon after they killed Bobby Kennedy.
Mm.
It's just one of those things. Probably
Yeah.
you never forget it.
Yeah, no, probably not. JFK, he was the last president to wear a top hat as an inauguration. So for many years, going back all the way to James Garfield's inauguration in 1881, it was a tradition for incoming presidents to wear a top hat as part of the inauguration day garb, John.
You think he messed up his hair?
No, yeah. JFK wasn't a fan of hats. He went along with the tradition, but it was the last president of the United States to do so. After that, no president ever wore a top hat.
Bad luck.
Yeah. He was actually, you know what? Another thing. He was the second wealthiest president.
Yeah.
He had a net worth of what in today's dollars would be $1 billion.
His
When he
dad,
took office
his
in
dad
1960.
earned a lot of very, very ethical money.
A lot of bootlegging money, right?
Yeah.
He used, for the longest time, he actually held the record for the wealthiest president until, you want to guess who knocked him off that list, the number one spot?
Well, it depends if you believe of how much he really makes. Let's say Mr. Trump.
Yeah, Trump knocked him off the list. Whose net worth is estimated to be about $3.5 billion when he took office.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
Kennedy donated all his salary to charity.
I'm sorry, guys. I called him Mr. Trump. President Trump.
In fact, he donated his entire presidential salary to charity, just as he did his congressional salary.
Yeah.
This is probably something you know. You probably have heard this. He was a James Bond fanatic. In 1955, J.K. was given a copy of Ian Fleming's first James Bond book, Casino Royale, and was immediately intrigued by the character. In 1962, he hosted a private screening of Dr. No at the White House. When asked to name his 10 favorite books, he listed From Russia with Love at number 9.
Right.
In a documentary included in the Bond 50th Anniversary Blu-ray collection, Kennedy was quoted as saying, "I wish I had James Bond on my staff."
I don't know, man. That's fine. It's fun. It sounds funny, but I know what he means.
Yeah. This is a funny fact. A day before signing the Cuba embargo, he bought a shit ton of cigars.
Nice.
He's a fan of fine cigars and Cuban cigars in particular. So in February of 1962, he asked Press Secretary Pierre Salinger to help him acquire a large supply of Cuban cigars, and quickly. When Salinger asked how many he needed, Kennedy told him about 100 petite Ubmans. and he won them by the next morning. 1,000, I'm sorry.
Good cigars and good women.
And he won them by the next morning. The next day, when Salinger informed the president he had managed to get 1,200 of them, he wrote that Kennedy smiled and opened up his desk. He took out a long paper, which he immediately signed. It was a decree banning all Cuban products from the United States. Cuban cigars were now illegal in that
after
country.
he got all his.
After he got all his, yeah. I see one last one, John. He was actually, this is a nice little fact. He was actually the target of at least 4 assassination attempts.
I know one.
Okay, what was the one?
Went well.
Once was in 1960, shortly after he's elected president, when a retired postal worker filled his car with dynamite and followed the president-elect from Hyannisport to Palm Beach. Brother,
Scarface.
Brother, they could have gotten me in Palm Beach. Kennedy reportedly told a Secret Service agent, "There's no way to keep anyone from killing me." And the lead up to the actual, successful assassination attempt in Dallas, 2 additional plots, one in Chicago and one in Tampa, were discovered. So,
yeah,
he
remember.
He was gonna get got, John.
I remember the Chicago and Tampa stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember the dynamite thing.
The dynamite, okay.
Yeah, I know they were successful in the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Let me end it with this. Do you know what his last words were supposedly?
No.
So
maybe, but no.
So this was just seconds before he was shot. Nellie Connolly, who was obviously the wife of John Connolly, and she was sitting right next to John Connolly, remarked, "You certainly can't say the people of Dallas haven't given you a nice welcome, Mr. President." And he replied, "No, you certainly can't." And supposedly that was his last words before he got shot.
Yeah.
No, you certainly can't.
Okay.
And with that, we end this chapter of the JFK.
Just to speak real quick,
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Kennedy was also assassinated. These were supposedly his last words, and it speaks to whether or not you like his politics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very nice thing to say, because he was the only one that got shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the hotel in California.
Yeah.
He goes, because he had several shots went off. He goes, "Is everybody okay?"
Mm-hmm.
That was the last words.
Before he bled out.
Yeah, I mean, he just barely could breathe.
Yeah.
That was all he could get out. So I was like, yeah, nice guy.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be sarcastic.
Yeah.
I'd be like, fuck, I'm shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do one on Robert Kennedy.
Bobby.
Yeah, not enough said about him, right?
Very interesting man.
Yeah.
You could honestly argue he's more interesting than JFK. It's just that the assassinations of JFK,
which is bigger,
overshadows.
way bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think but obviously Robert Kennedy had if you really look into the politics of the 60s,
because he was just as involved with the Cuban Missile of everything, because he was there next to him.
Yeah. So, so I'm sure we're gonna do another episode on another aspect.
This is a very light episode.
Another aspect of the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
There's so many things we could talk about, and I'm sure we're gonna over the next months, years, decades, we'll talk about.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this, guys.
We're gonna figure it out, John. I have a theory that our podcast is gonna be the podcast that finally breaks this whole thing open.
Break the case wide open.
Mark this podcast as the turning point.
Right. Reopening this cold case.
Here we are. So with that, John, you have any last words for this week? Any advice? I always try to give you the last 15 seconds of every podcast to give our listeners out there some advice from John.
Guys, if you haven't tried Ricola cough drops, try Ricola cough drops.
The sugar-free, right?
They're sugar-free that I'm trying, lemon flavored. They're fantastic.
What is it about them that makes them above any other cough drop that people might try out there?
Because they're effective.
Uh-huh.
Sugar-free, but they don't taste sugar-free. You've tried them.
Yeah. They're pretty sweet. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they're almost better than the regular ones.
And you know what? I like the bag. I like how solid the bag feels, but it isn't so solid that you don't feel you can tear it open.
Yeah, they use
Like
like a
it's
paper. They don't use
like
like
a paper.
plastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
So it feels like
shout out to
it's
Ricola.
it feels like it's about
Ricola.
degradable. Ricola or Ricola?
I think it's Ricola.
Ricola.
But the song goes Ricola.
Ricola. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
so
right. The commercial from the
That's
80s.
what yeah.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Cough drop advice from John.
Yeah.
All right.
Secrets of great podcasting is cough drops.
Cough drops. You're right.
It
It clears up your voice and the
Yeah,
tenor.
guys. Yeah.
I
got a cold right now, guys, and that's the only reason I was able to give you such an amazing podcast
with your Hannibal Lecter mask.
with Matt here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a picture of it if you want. Actually, we probably shouldn't because it's like products. But I don't want people thinking we're endorsing this thing.
No, only John. All right.
Yeah.
So with that, we leave you for another week. We hope everybody has a nice, safe week. Celebrate JFK's assassination.
Jesus Christ.
Well, not celebrate. Like honor. maybe that's a better word, right? Honor the anniversary of.
I'm
this.
starting to think Matt did it.
You think I did it? How old was I when Kennedy was assassinated? I was negative.
Old enough.
I was negative 20-something years old.
You look old enough to do it.
I think my mom was like 6 years old when Kennedy was assassinated.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You look like one of the three hobos.
We'll investigate that in one of the episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Later, guys.
all right. Bye-bye.